Welcome everybody, this is Blender.Today live number 84. Welcome Sebastian.
I'm back!
Yes, we haven't had you in a while. Last episode I did it from home because we had internet issues, then it was the live before and the Blender conference. So there is so much to talk. And the last episode I kind of promised a Blender 2.81 release, which I would say it happened and also didn't happen. Why? Because according to the developers meeting you had today, like you as in developers had today, there won't be any new commit basically.
Yes.
So the code as it is now is gonna be pretty much the same as it's gonna be on Wednesday when is the target for the release. But basically developers are busy tomorrow, so the main developer that is taking care of the release part of this, or like actually releasing it, doing all the dance and putting the splash and running the build bots and stuff. So basically there won't be any change.
Yes, it was basically that some last minute changes went in, and we want to make sure that it's stable, so we just don't commit those changes and say, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
Release it, and then on today or tomorrow, someone is like, oh no, it broke Blender completely.
Again, yes. So you heard it here. It's just, if you use the one from BuildBot, from builder.blender.org, it's gonna be just the same. So if you want to use 2.81, well, it's not gonna be the same. I mean, it's gonna have the it's not gonna have the nice splash screen, which still we haven't shared. I was testing the splash screen. I almost compiled Blender with the splash screen today, but it would have been a spoiler alert. You know, the splash is like the most exciting part of the release.
Yes,
so
my mic seems to be too low still.
Oh, interesting. Or you can speak louder. Or I speak too
I
loud.
can scream!
No, wait. That might be a bit too much. People are with headphones.
Sorry.
Okay. I lower myself a little bit, so maybe that helps. Because I think you're also being picked up by my microphone.
Yes, that's usually the issue.
I also speak a lot closer to the
yes, that's usually the issue, that you're a lot louder than the guests. So
yeah, and people say it's getting better. So okay, Ray, let's go on with what's new. So the release, yeah, that's the release question. Is it a release or not? There's a few fixes that I haven't mentioned in the last week, but I think it's nice to mention them. Some of them, they went over my radar. I had way too many commits to go through. I had like 400 again from last week.
Yeah.
What the heck? So yeah, now now Pablo is too low. Okay. Okay.
Well,
I will try not to mess with this that much. The developer meeting note that I was talking about, you can find them on the DevTalk forums. You can find here, this one today is 18. So here you can find the explanation. Basically 2.81, the non-showstopper bugs. So those bugs that could, I mean, they've been there for a while, or that they are not critical, you know, is maybe there are some corner cases. They are going to be moved to 2.82.
Exactly.
Which could mean like fix tomorrow and in BuildBot, so you can download the 2.82 alpha, so it's not like they have to wait 3 months. But yeah, for the release. Then no more 2.81 commits unless it's a super critical and scheduled. Then the splash and the tagging and everything will happen on Wednesday, hopefully. And Windows builds will be created on the BuildBot for the first time. So this boy here is gonna make the actual release builds for Windows for the first time. And this one doesn't include a major improvement that was done for the in 2.82, but we're gonna talk about in a bit. So one of the topics that I forgot to mention that I missed when it was fixed a few weeks ago is this one, sampling subframes not working in 2.8. This one is actually part of 2.81, so you're gonna get it. And it was reported a long time ago. It was basically having to do with the subframes on
moving objects in smoke simulations.
In smoke simulations, yeah. And even though the smoke simulator is going to be replaced for 2.82, hopefully with
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for MantaFlow, then still it's nice that this fix got through, because it's been a discussion from February all this year.
And lower music. They're complaining about too high music volume.
They or one person?
No, 5.
5 people.
or so,
Okay,
so-
then it's maybe everything else got really loud.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
actually, I could basically just lower this guy here, so then it's there. So okay, let's move on.
Yep.
Let's continue. Thank you for the feedback. I have been doing this for so many weeks. What happened? Somebody touched my setup this weekend. Anyway,
Maybe.
so I include this fix because it's been a discussion for a long time, and now recently has been fixed. So it's nice to keep up people about these changes.
Yes.
1 year of fixing. Okay. Next, the other improvements. Paint now. It's also in 2.81. I forgot to mention it, but it's kind of a feature if you think about it. It's a texture paint. Now, when you're painting, you can disable the. So if I have an image, if I add an image, you can disable from the options. You can disable anti-aliasing. So if you're painting like pixel art, you can also now you can see the actual pixels. Doesn't have any filtering.
Is this also with the fix Pablo did for the anti-aliasing when drawing just normally?
You would know better than I
Yes,
do.
I think that's at least it's in 2.82, I think.
Okay.
But I don't know. No, I don't think it's in 81.
No. Okay.
No, sorry.
So this one is in 81 actually. The option to disable anti-aliasing, and I don't know how this one got through though, because it was supposed to be feature phrase. But it's nice that it's there, because if you're doing pixel art or if you really want to see what you're painting without any filtering, then be more precise. You know you can. Then another nice improvement that I can't really show here, but it happened in some of these sliders, like number sliders, when the values were a bit too high, like when you had too much too much room for experimenting, it could go crazy. It could go like suddenly from 0 to 1,000 or 2,000, and it wasn't really useful anymore. That happened especially when you had custom values, or like a driver, custom properties or drivers, or those kind of values. So now that has been fixed. Also, EXR files bigger than 2 gigabytes on Windows, they were not working. So
That's
yeah.
why you use Linux.
Yeah, on Linux you didn't have any issue. I don't know on Mac, but on Windows apparently the EXR files couldn't be bigger than 2 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a pretty big but I guess if you're working with 4 or 8K with multiple layers and passes and
yeah, you can, especially if it's raw files, then it gets used up really quickly. So,
32 bits, yeah. So now you can, and that is also part of 2.81. Another reason to upgrade. Then the array modifier performance was slow. There was something to do with the depth graph updating, and that has been fixed for 2.81. Then the Blender default key set. So the default.
Oh yeah, this was my fix.
Yeah, I saw it. It was basically you could delete like Blender's own.
Yeah, exactly. Not many users, including me, didn't know about this, so that's why we didn't fix it so quickly. But you could previously just delete
this. So if I delete it now, it's gonna tell me.
Yes.
Okay, let's try it live. Bam!
Yeah,
it says
and then
you can remove the default presets to make it bigger even.
Yes.
So people can actually see it.
Because previously you could.
You can't remove the default. Maybe we can change the name to like the wording to be maybe like default presets can't be removed or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
Something like that.
But yeah, the issue previously was that you could remove the default presets, and it wasn't an issue unless you removed everything. So you could remove everything, and then you didn't have any key bindings anymore, and then stuff just broke.
Hey, what if you want to go really minimal? No key bindings. Full experience.
Yeah, I mean the issue is that won't work because a few tools or operators rely on reading key bindings. So then that's
then everything rely. Wow. So there are tools relying on that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
So another fix that I include here because it's been in discussion and on fire.
Oh yeah.
Since
this
last
has been
year.
A long time.
It's over. Yeah, it's almost 1 year.
Yeah, soon 1 year.
Yeah, it's that the Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the comments again. That microphone is too low. I think it's okay. I should.
Yeah, I mean.
I speak too loud, or maybe I need to get a bit away. But
yeah, I mean, if we look at my mic, I don't go as high as you in decibel.
Let's ignore and continue. A lot of people said it's okay, so I believe maybe it's a setting, you know, or headphones or the speakers or on a phone, or we don't know.
Well, when I watch it, actually, it's usually that the guest is much lower than you.
Or I speak too loud.
Yes, I guess that could be also.
But
maybe I just have to go up a bit in volume.
That's something I learned. When I watch my first videos, like from when I first started, I was like, hello guys, how are you doing? And then you just start shouting. I don't know why. Or anyway, the fix that I mentioned, it's been around since last year, December from December 2018. Basically, it means it was when you were sculpting using multi-resolution. If you go a few levels down, that is not the maximum sculpt level that you had. You sculpt and then you go back to the higher one. You could lose some data. You could basically mess up your sculpt if you were to lower levels. So after a long discussion, and you can see all the people
duplicates.
Yeah.
So
after a long discussion, the result is that now Blender will force, when you're sculpting, it will force the sculpting to happen in the highest level. So even if you're showing but if you're in sculpting, it will all push you to the highest level. So you can't do it. It's a workaround, so you don't lose data until there's an actual proper fix.
Yeah, and Sergey is looking into it, I think. So, but he's been busy with much other stuff also, because he has a lot of areas in the Blender code base to take care of. So that's the issue.
That's the issue. So that's why for sculpting on highest multi-res level, this is what happens right now. And I was just reading that there is already a bug report saying missing sculpt slider in multi-res modifier. Yeah. That was people. You're fast. So basically, the sculpt slider now is hidden or is gone. Is not there anymore because you can't change it when you're in multi-res. It's a workaround, but I think it's worth having that because it will save you from losing data.
Yes.
Potentially.
Because as you said, if you lowered it and sculpted, then the data was lost. You couldn't do anything to recover from that.
Yeah, it's better that way. Then another improvement that was done, it's the defaults on sculpting, but it's not updated. The workspace is not updated, but the defaults are updated. But for some reason, it has been moved. I had this on 2.81, but I think the workspace is going to happen. The workspace change is going to happen in 2.82. It was recently moved, but when I was committed, I had it on this list. I swear, I didn't make a mistake.
Yeah. A lot of things moved around.
Got moved?
Yeah.
All right, time for some fun now. This was 2.81, and where is my music here? Because when we change topic.
Oh, a new feature.
The new feature, yeah, but maybe people won't hear it that loud because I lower the music. But I can just lower this thing and then make it again for later. Speaking. All right, so time to talk about new stuff because it's never enough. It's never enough. There is a new release coming out this week, and now we're talking about the things coming up afterwards. So this is a big one. This is a big one, so big that it opened in a different window. Add support for the TBV allocator on Windows. Doesn't say anything to anyone. Yeah, it does
to me because
to the normal human, to the mortals. It doesn't say anything, but if you're on Windows, you may be interested. There is a small to mid improvement in VVH building on cycles.
Yes, exactly. That's what's one of the biggest things that slow down the Windows cycles render speeds. I don't remember who did the benchmarks, but there was some guy.
CG Geek, they made a video about.
Yes, exactly. And the VVH building was the slowest part.
Basically, Linux is awesome, and Windows was like, I mean, it's supposed to be less. For many reasons, it's supposed to be a bit not as performant, but they was like the difference was ridiculous. It was like twice as fast Linux. I mean, I know it's awesome, but not as much. So with this improvement, they should be a bit better. So there is an improvement here in 15% in preparing them. Prep improvements.
Yes. So I mean, what they do here
4% here.
Yes. So that's the total improvement, and then the preparation means preparing the scenes to be rendered, and most of that is building the BBH.
This is super nice because this is what the moment you start seeing the render happen. Before, like, right? This is when after this is when you actually start seeing the rendering happen.
Yes, in this case, after 5 seconds, that's when it starts rendering.
Cool. So in Victor scene is actually when you get more of the improvement. That's nice. Victor is a character from Cosmos Laundromat, so it's an actual production character with a lot of little particle systems and stuff. So it's a good measure. Measure what? Something to measure.
Yeah.
Cycles performance for OpenCL has also been improved for 2.82. What does it mean? Well, it means that actually it was fast in 2.80, then it became super slow, almost twice as slow, for some setups in AMD graphics cards with OpenCL.
Oh, right. Yeah, this was one of the things that made it into the 2.81 release, right? Because Jeroen just discovered this last week.
Yeah.
So, or wait. Yes, exactly. So I think this is in right now, right?
It is in for 2.82. 2.81 excluding for the Voronoi 2D, 3D smooth. So basically the new nodes that are in 2.81 for cycles or EV, those that add like special settings for these procedural textures are bringing up these issues. So this is for 2.82. So 2.81 will render slower. That's a pity.
Yeah. It is. I thought this would make it into 2.81 because, but I think they wanted to test it out a bit more, I guess.
Yeah. So, well, it's
Or it actually says 81/82.
Where?
If you scroll up to the top.
To the top.
And then a bit more. There you go.
2.81/2.82. Yeah, the task.
Oh, okay. It's still open. Yeah, then no.
So that's a pity. So just skip 2.81.
Yeah.
Jump
Don't download it. Download the build box.
Skip 2.82. Just go there. Just it's a rolling release. So okay, next one. Oh yeah, this is Grease Pencil.
Oh.
All the Grease Pencil people out there here. So when you there's a new feature that allows you to add, for example, if you have a my pen is flipped. So if you have a happy face and, for example, you have a nice curve, you can add now strokes, like multiply the strokes around the stroke. What does it mean?
Oh, the multi.
It's a multiple strokes modifier.
Multiple stroke,
This feature came from the NPR branch, the NPR branch.
The NPR branch, yeah.
So look, basically you just draw once and it will draw this, and by default it doesn't look like much. It's basically just adding a line. But if you play with the settings, you can of course change the number. You can set the distance, the offset, and this is my favorite, is the fading, because it means that you can, for example, fade the opacity. So you have a bit more opaque on one side, and then to the side it goes and it starts being a fade away. And if you change the center, for example, to be 0.5, this is a bit, the interface could maybe use some help, but 0.5 means that it will start in the center and will fade away to the sides. And you can also do that with the thickness, so that way it even looks more like it's fading away. It's pretty interesting. It's like, I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah, it could be used if you do like map making, if you want to do outlines like shorelines or whatever. Like that. But you can use it for a lot of stuff, of course.
But for example, if you are doing some sharp corners, you can also play with the angle splitting option here to cut off the corners. because sometimes it can look a bit weird in the corner. So you have this setting, which goes from 0 to 3.142.
Yeah, the pi.
It's pi, yes, 0 to pi.
But yeah, I think
that's interesting. How long does it go? 1, 2, 3, 5 digits of pi.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, we already have a UI option to display degrees.
So. So maybe we can just use that, basically.
Yeah.
So maybe it needs that. So it's one of those things that needs a bit of a UI love, and it's gonna get it because this is 2.82, which is at the very beginning of its development cycle. You can, of course, limit this effect per material and per layer. This is an option that is in most of the modifiers. So for example, you can limit this to be only on the red strokes. And because I don't have any red stroke, I won't see it. But if I start drawing one, then you'll see that it only applies to the red stroke. So pretty neat, pretty nice. So let's move on. The Grease Pencil team is killing it. It has there's a video that they're gonna upload like that now or tomorrow that shows the new vertex color in Grease Pencil.
Oh, so that feature, yeah.
Vertex color. So basically you paint and you can vertex color on top of it and have like effects and blurring and smear, and it really makes it much more
raster-like, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, more artistic workflow. You know, like more or less what you would expect, actually. What else? Okay, more improvements. The some weeks ago I showed the new way to activate tools with the leader key. When you hold Alt and you enter this mode where you can press a key and enable one of these tools, the ones that appear here, which is the same tool that you would use, that you will see here on the side when you use the Shift space shortcut. Now you can access this in by pressing Alt, like tapping Alt and then releasing and then tapping the key. So it's like a way to access those tools without
without clicking on the tools.
Yeah, exactly. Or for example, so that way we can keep G for moving, rotate. Everything is very instant, but when you want to switch to the actual tool, you do it with Alt G for moving, Alt R for rotating. And that was added a few weeks ago, and now you can also tap out of this mode by pressing Alt again. It would go out, or you can also press Escape to cancel.
Yeah, this was, I think it was because one of our artists upstairs had issues with this. He misclicked on Alt and then complained to our UI guys.
Yeah.
And then it got fixed.
Yeah, that's a tricky part that it can happen. But I think for some modes, for example, for sculpting, I think this could be fun. Like because then that way you can access much more all these tools, which are many. Mesh filter Shift 4, would that work? So if I press Alt Shift 4.
No, I think it's just Shift.
Oh yeah, I'm actually Shift 4 only. You think it's going to work? Like if I go to smooth and then Shift 4. No, Shift 4 doesn't work. So Alt Shift 4. Alt Shift 4.
No.
Interesting, weird.
Anyways.
It's work in progress. But it's interesting. The what else? Let's see. The transform. There is a new option for snapping that allows you to exclude the back sides of a mesh. For example, if you have, let's see, for example, icosphere. For example, you have this, but you cut. Oh, by the way, I'm playing with the colors.
Yeah.
At some point, we want to include this to be part of the theme, just like it was in 2.8 or before 2.81, and there was no time to do it, but the idea is to have it. So basically, this is the forward-facing faces,
yes,
and this is the back faces. So there is an option now in the snapping that allows you, for example, when you snap to vertex, to have backface culling, and it's for excluding, but it's called backface. Shouldn't we call exclude backface?
No, culling is excluding.
It's that's the word. That's the definition of the word.
That's
the definition of culling.
Standard.
Interesting.
That you call when you remove backfaces. You call them.
So if I am the ones in front, I can snap, and the ones in back are ignored.
Yes.
Interesting.
This was for retopology reasons, because in most cases you don't want it to snap to back faces.
Yeah.
So then you just turn on that option, and then it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Backface culling. That's what they. Sorry, my inglés is un poco malo. But yeah, I would like, if I was writing this, I would probably exclude back faces or something like that. But yeah, that's not industry standard though.
That's what we call the other.
In the other, yeah, which has nothing to do, by the way, with this option when that hides the back faces.
Well, it does actually, because it uses the same code when it does the query to see if it can snap to it.
The same code, but it doesn't, like, they're not related. Like, as in, I mean, uses the same code, but one is for snapping and one is for display.
Yes, but it uses the display code to actually see if it should snap.
Uses the display?
Yes.
Oh, so it's a screen space or something.
Yeah.
Next, what else? There is the new option in the sequencer that I wanted to here. Let's close this guy and let's open it. There is the sequencer has an option to select the strips on the sides, and now this also takes into account other channels. So the basically it's yeah. So when you select a strip and you select the ones on the side, now it's gonna take into account, or can take into account, all the multiple channels. So it will select all the strips everywhere. So that was pretty nice, and I wanted to highlight it because there's another patch again from Alessio Monti di Sopra, which has been doing a bunch of commits lately and patches, and it has a Charmander emoji.
The default.
That's the default. No, there is also Psyduck.
Yeah, but yeah. I guess it's randomized.
Oh, maybe yes.
Yeah.
But you can see, if you stalk him, you can see that he's doing. Oh, add adjust last operation panel to the sequencer. Nice. Oh. Yeah. Cool. So if you hated this adjust last operation panel, now it's in both. But you can also hide it. It's a setting. It's an option. But nice. So nice to have someone looking into these issues and being able to stalk them and see what they're doing. Add a filter to the theme preferences. I love talking. Oh yeah, that's a patch that I was giving some feedback on. I hope it makes it into master. It's a patch by Tobias Langen that adds a search to the user themes, to the themes, which is much needed. I think it could have a lot more improvements in actually having categories and maybe accent colors and a bit more organized, but the search is already a huge help, because Alessio, Alessio, the one that I just mentioned, he added a option to change in the sequencer the color of the preview. So when you press P, you can set a preview range, which is what is gonna be when you play back, what is gonna be shown. And this preview was basically hard-coded. It wasn't an option. Now it is. In the preferences, themes, video sequence editor, you're gonna find here that you can change this color, which is a different setting than the one you have in, for example, the dope sheet. So it's again another setting, another being able to change the color how it is in one animation editor, and one maybe a bit too much freedom, too much power.
I mean, didn't you guys talk about using some CSS style theming?
Oh, eventually, yeah, I wish.
Because then you can go as deep as you want to, and also as big as you want to. Because then you can have like generic theme settings, and then going, okay, in this editor, in this mode, this is the color I want.
Yeah, it could be. Then what else here? So this, I think I mentioned all of them. Render results now only show when you're in view mode. That's a tiny fix, but it will make things a bit less confusing. So when you render it, this will open only in the view in the view mode. Sometimes it could happen that it will open in the UV editor, for example, and that can be confusing to have your render there. And I would always open in the view image editors. Then the Solidify modifier now supports non-manifold.
Oh yeah, right. I saw the pull request for that. You can do a lot of nice patterns now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can have like this mesh pattern that's just like wires or whatever, and it can it's hard to explain it, but you can do like
it's just awesome basically, and you can make it so go from simplex to simple is the regular one, and complex is a new one, right? That you can specify the boundary shape, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so I haven't tested this, but please go do test and share awesome images.
Yeah, it's basically useful if you have a just a surface, so just a plane, and then you make a T shape of it. Before that wouldn't work nicely, but now it does in the new complex mode.
If you have like a special weird shape, I guess.
No, I mean if you just have a plane and then subdivide it in the middle and then extrude so it becomes a T. Before that didn't work that well, but now it does. So
simple or complex. That's I don't know about the naming, but it's simple and it's complex. It just adds one more setting though. So it could be like advanced or something. All right, we are getting close to the end. The make instances operator. So when you have, for example, if I add a new collection instance of this collection, I can make, there's an operator that has been around forever. It's make instances real. Control A, I think. Make instances real. Yeah, make duplicates real used to be called. And now when you do that, it will keep the duplicator and the objects selected, which is something that didn't happen before.
I just selected the active object, I guess, before.
Yeah, or deselected everything. I think
maybe.
Yeah, now that has been fixed. And okay, before moving, we should move into the questions. One change is that when you are doing masking, so you're doing VFX, for example, and you do masking, these masks, this mask in mask mode, when you have a clip, I don't have one, but basically it's a shortcut change. To make the mask close, you had to double click on it, which was a bit not ideal if you're using a pen. So now is control click. It used to be control double click, which is weird. So now it's fine. Okay, my voice is, how can it be low? We didn't even touch.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe I started talking low again, and the compressor is kicking in.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna stay far from the microphone. All right, we should have one of those here. You know, like the ones that are connected here, like like Steve Jobs giving a presentation.
If I remember correctly, it's usually that the volume in general of the whole video is quite low.
Of the whole video?
Yeah, but yeah, we can try it. Guess later or something.
Or just do it live and messy, like no.
I mean, yeah, it's better to just keep rolling now, I think.
Let's there is the last thing that I wanted to mention is this work in progress that is going on that is helping. It's one of the many little parts that will make undo faster and the overall performance, because people ask about, hey, are you working on performance? And yes, for example, in this patch that is by Bastian.
Yeah.
He worked, well, I guess you can explain this better, but basically he worked on the task scheduler Blender, the one that gets all the tasks. Is like, okay, move this, paint this, change this, whatever.
Well, the task in this case is basically that you tell them like, okay, this problem can be solved in parallel, so just solve it as good as you can. And in some cases, the schedule for this parallel task wasn't that good, so now we're looking into improving it. And this is what you can see here, that we got over to speed up, 2x speed up in some cases.
So the more threads you have, probably the better. And in this case, for example, with 10,000 items, you get a 2.5 magnitude, right? Improvement.
Yes.
It's over twice as fast.
Yeah, over twice as fast. But in this case, it's also microseconds. So
hey, no matter if it's like 1 kilo of feathers and 1 kilo of iron, it's the same. So basically, it's still
yeah. I mean, this adds up after a while. So
if you have a gazillion. So I just wanted to highlight this because people ask, it's like, hey, performance, and people are even looking at performance, and yes, we are. People are.
Yeah.
All right. Time for questions or answers, actually. All right. So where do I have this? Blender.Today. Bam. Bam. People are hammering the website. Let's see how many. Whoa, 46, 47 questions. All right, we're gonna have to hammer this guy. All right, so thank you, Momotron, for making this thread. You're awesome. I'm gonna give you a thumbs up, and let's move on. Hello, Pablo. I don't understand how Blender simulates light power. What is the meaning of watts for lights in Blender? Is it light power in watts equivalent to a bulb light, a LED light, or another type?
I think this is explained on the wiki.
Yes?
Yes.
So read the manual.
I think
I'm not familiar with it.
Because I had the same question and I looked it up, so but I don't remember the answer. So
I think it was explained in the
I think
manual.
so.
Well, you can go. Let's try to. I will try to go as much as possible, as fast as possible. Sebas, lean the mic in front of you. So
I tried to adjust it, but I mean, basically this is as far as
you're
forward I
supposed
can
to
go.
be to almost touch it.
So because now I'm almost touching it already. It's
next question. PK, go. Hi Pablo, I've been following November, which is so inspiring. It is super inspiring. You should check it out. Hashtag November. So I wanted to ask about the future of everything nodes and the possibility to get Blender to have material authoring capabilities like the popular one. What? This might need a huge change in how the node editor looks and work. So you guys have plans, or are they interested in this direction and we have to use other software for that? What is material authoring?
I don't know actually.
I'm not familiar with the concept. Like the popular, yeah.
I have no clue, but
I'm the author of all my materials.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing they're talking about
creation, more like Substance, I guess.
Yeah, Substance. I think they're talking about Substance Painter and the other stuff. So yeah,
I'm not familiar with the concept. I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah, but just to answer the question, we have talked about using better generative modes for textures in Blender, but as with most other things, we don't have developers right now to allocate for those tasks, and we want to tackle more pressing issues first.
Substance Designer, they say. I don't know the difference between Substance Designer and Substance Painter. I guess one is to paint, one is to actually create the material,
I think that's the
alchemy
case.
Or something.
Yeah, because then you use nodes to do a generative material.
Yeah, that's what happens when you only use one software. But basically the old material making and painting and stuff, it's to be improved in the future. And Pablo Navarro, the developer working on sculpting and / painting, is interested in that. When I asked him in the Blender.Today in Spanish that I did during the Blender conference, he said his reply was like, I want Krita and Substance together inside Blender. So yes. And it's promising. He actually delivered. So yeah. Next question by Steve. Hey Pablo, in a recent video, it was demonstrated how slow editing can be in Blender compared to some other applications like Max or Houdini.
Yeah, if this is the one I think it is, yes, this is basically a vertex moving performance.
Oh yeah, no, this is super slow.
Yes,
in Blender.
We already know this is.
We are aware of it, and we envy the amount of developer power they have. Or basically years of.
Well, I mean, the issue in Blender now is that we refresh a lot of stuff we don't need to refresh while editing or moving polygons. So yeah.
So yeah, it needs work, and the developers are aware of it. Next question, Zinok. Hey Pablo, I watched this a few days ago, and it's about tangent animation and their work on next gen. You can watch it later if you want. They talk about the obstacles they had in their production and how they solved them. they mentioned that they are willing to push their improvements upstream. They already have done that and can become a big production tool, especially Cycle. So it's happening. And are there any other studios doing the same? Yes. Actually, tangent animation is why we have Cryptomatte, for example, inside of Blender.
Yep.
Also, the some Cycle stuff, like they're already working on it. They are already putting Blender, putting their code and their improvements inside of Blender. Stefan is one of the ones that is taking action into this, and he came to the Blender conference, so he's super more than involved.
Did they contribute some Alembic stuff also? Or
oh yeah, of course, yeah. Back in the day, OpenVDV as well. So they are, and any other studios doing the same. I think their Ubisoft team, when they announced that they will become part of Blender and they would use Blender as their main DCC for the animation studio, they also mentioned that they will work inside their in-house to make tools and propose them to Blender in the future. Okay, like Momotron says. Thank you, Momotron. Next question. Frostcrack Studio with the node system. Can Blender get some buttons? So if we want to make some particle system, we click a button called fire, and Blender makes the nodes for fire. Yes, those are templates, and we have something like that for...
Well, he's talking about nodes specifically.
Oh, I know a guy that made that.
Yeah, I mean...
no, I'm talking about myself. I have a template for adding, which is probably broken. Hey, no, Vignette is working.
Yeah.
So basically, I have some templates for node system, and I would love for Blender to have this. So I will personally push for this. And templates, it's something we talked. Presets, something we talked for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it should be that hard. I mean, for the new functions branch with the new particle system, it should be possible. But for like doing proper smoke and water simulation, not yet, because MantaFlow is not node based. So
yeah, but basically preset, like with there are so many like the functions branch and all of that, it looks mind-blowingly awesome. But of course, you need to mess with the nodes. So I think that will improve. But not only for that, for materials. If you want to add a shadeless material like we used to have in Blender internal, now you need at least 2 nodes or 3 nodes in Blender cycles. So even in that case, I'd love to have like a shadeless material, and it will add the node setup for you.
But that's for the asset manager? Question mark?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Cobra asks, hey, I want to ask you about the Retopo tools. It seems that developers stopped working on them. What? Pablo did some nice work on the poly build, but it's not yet optimal. I think you guys should focus on retopology more, because this will make Blender hard to miss and people won't have to use other software. This way, Blender gets more support in the industry. Like, it seems devs stopped working on it. I think devs never really worked on it, besides back in the days adding some of the basics features for snapping.
Well, I mean, Pablo did some changes to the polybuild tool.
Yeah, the polybuild tool is much better.
Stuff too, but yeah, there's just so much stuff for us to do, so we have to prioritize. And in this case, the repotology tools will need a lot of thought and work, so we're focusing on other areas right now instead. So, because if we try to just do everything at once, then we will not get anything done, basically.
Yep. So next, what else? Yeah, here. So yeah, it's one of those many things. The same with UV tools and the same with
same with UVs.
But also like the one that you can, for snapping, that doesn't work on back faces. That's kind of a retopo tool.
Yeah, that was specifically for topology.
For retopology. So hey, we got a new feature for you this week. Next question by Texas Fair. Pablo, saludos, which means cheers. A few weeks ago, talking about the future of Blender, you mentioned something about the game engine. Are they bringing those back? Is something new cooking, or it was just wishful thinking? It was, unfortunately, wishful thinking. Also, what do you think of V4Artists, Blender for Artists? I love their friendly interface builds. I think it's a nice project, but it's tricky because it really changes the whole interface of Blender. So unless you remake every tutorial out there, it's gonna be hard for people to, no matter how easy the interface is, if there is no documentation for it, it's dangerous for a project, right? So I hope if people really find it as easy to use and inviting, then maybe they can make tutorials for it. Or we have the same issue for the industry standard keymap. Yeah, it's nice to have it, but those tutorials are made for the default Blender. So yeah, I hope B4Artists that keeps growing, and maybe we can even have some of their ideas part of Blender, like the general Blender, because it's not like they just move buttons around. They also simplify some parts of the UI, or they have better labels. So I think we can also learn from that, and the other way around.
Yeah. And also, just Momotron said, if you want to use a game engine, use one of the other open source game engines.
Oh yeah, yeah. What it could be coming, and it was one of those ideas in the future, is to have interactive mode in Blender, but there's no news in that project.
Yep.
Next question, Damian. Hi Pablo, thanks for the awesome show. Thank you for watching it.
Oh wait.
Wait, what?
This one. Oh, Damian. Okay,
Damian,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
Recently,
continue.
I have noticed that Blender doesn't use all the processor core available. I can't say in particular, and didn't run any tests, but my gut feelings is that watching the system monitor tells me that mesh editing and selecting vertices might be twice as fast. Also, proportional editing is slow, and grab brush in sculpt mode is fast. So yeah, they're completely different things. Like sculpt mode uses a different way of moving vertices than proportional editing and than mesh editing.
Yes, this also goes back to the other video that I linked above with the vertex editing. It was a bit unrealistic, I would say, because in those cases you don't go in and edit vertices on those high poly meshes in most cases, so you go into sculpt mode instead. And in that part, Pablo has been working hard on making it faster. And it's true, we could probably make it faster in edit mode as well, but it's not a priority right now.
But it's one of those topics that is always around, like performance.
Yeah. But I mean, then people are like, no, this is broken. We need this new feature. So it's like, okay, what do we do?
Yeah, it's like improve performance, add UDIMs, add new performance. It's okay, wait. Anyway, the thing is that for performance, it takes more than just you can't do that with an add-on. You know, it's like it needs really knowing all the areas, and maybe the performance is in the drawing, open subdiv, the subdivisions, or in the dependency graph, or modifiers stack, or can be anywhere.
Yeah, or just the basic data structures. So it would take time to.
Next question, sorry. We have 10 minutes. Nerves and polygonal modeling. As we know, in the CG industry, the standard production pipeline is made by specific software. Yes, Blender is moving in the opposite direction, trying to cover all the possible tasks in facing each one of the softwares. We see many efforts in several areas, even in 2D animation. So the general feeling is that the modeling aspect is a bit neglected. No, why? The fact that there is one developer working volunteer on Grease Pencil 2D animation tools somewhere in Spain on his own free time doesn't affect at all the development of mesh tools. It's mesh modeling is a different part. Rendering is a part. Like the fact that EVs gets added doesn't mean that the I don't know, the sculpt is neglected. You know, it's
I mean, a lot
there's
of
so different parts.
Seem to think that everything is sequential, so we just work on Grease Pencil and then work on that and then work on that. But it's stuff happening in parallel.
Yeah, exactly. So when you see the development fund that it says 20, it's not like all 20 is like, hey, there is a bug, vroom, all 20. Hey, let's do that bug, let's add snapping, vroom. No, it's very organic, really.
So, but right now there's a lot of backlog bugs that it has to be fixed. So that's why there's not that much new features in those areas.
But still, I mean, 3D mesh modeling, it's like you can't do anything without mesh modeling. So it's an area that it always keeps improving, or it gets improvement from other areas, like with the new snapping or precision modeling tools, or with the Everything Nodes project, more into like procedural modeling. Next question. So, can we get a tool similar for sculpting? I'm gonna skip this one with the video. Sorry, I try to add as many. As there are as many questions. Hey Pablo and Sebastian, love the show. I hope you have a great day. You too, the dragon. Will the face orientation colors be changed? Hey, is the question that appears on every in every week we get this question asked, and there is there is no answer to that. There is who's gonna work on it. Whoever works on it, if you're a new developer, looked into this. I even showed the code where last week in I opened the code itself and I pointed to the line where it said, "Here, change me," basically. And if there is any, it's a new task for a new developer.
It should be quite easy to do, but you have to spend some time on it.
So. Is a release coming out? There is a 2.82. There's so many other things that it will be a great opportunity
for a new first issue for a new developer.
For a new developer, so please use it.
Yeah.
But thank you for asking, because it keeps bringing back and it shows the
3 years later face orientation.
David Enmore asks, "Hello Pablo, thanks for this awesome stream every week. I love it. I was a total Blender noob before November.
Okay.
Now I'm still a noob. You know, I think I'm more noob after November because I see the amazing things that people are doing. It's a bit depressing. But 3 questions. Can you say Pablo Dobarro? Pablo Dobarro.
Yeah.
Second question. It's Spanish, so the more R's, the better. Second, is the difference between the Voronoi node in 2.80 2.81 is huge. The feature output option was really useful. Really useful. Will it come back, you think? Feature output. I'm torn between going back and forth because you can turn down randomness. Oh, I wasn't aware of this one.
No, but I think they did some.
I think
like feature
everything is possible, yeah.
So it should still be possible.
It's just a different way, but I'm not sure exactly which way.
No, not me either. But I remember that Brecht and the others took a very long and hard look at it before they merged it. So I think they made sure that it's possible in some way still.
Do you know if someone is working on giving color ramp an overhaul sometime soon? It's a little clunky. It would be nice to be able to connect, for example, the color swatch positions. Yeah, I would love that. That's one. No, I don't know if anybody working on it, but I would love this so many times. And it's very limiting. The UI is weird. Yes. But I don't know anyone that's working on it. Hi Pablo, any plans to implement parallax occlusion mapping in Blender so we can visualize a material's height without having to subdivide the mesh?
Well, I mean, as he said, some people has already implemented it in nodes, but yeah, it's
parallax occlusion map. Ooh.
Yeah. So it's basically that you have a 3D texture instead. So it uses tricks to make it appear 3D.
That's awesome.
So it looks very nice.
Yeah, I don't know anyone working actually on it.
No, not right now.
Right now, the main developer of Eevee is working on the overlay engine. So basically, taking the overlays and making it into a new render engine, so to speak. All right, next. Momotron 18 comment 6 a vote. Yes, please give it a vote. Give some votes. John Z asks, I want to ask a serious question. Do you guys really take feature requests seriously, or is it only when it lines up with developers' own goals? It looks to me there are tons of great requests, but only what devs want to work on and gets mentioned. Should there be a system to pick the most important features or improvements that the community needs to be added first?
Yeah, well, for this one, the issue is mostly that we are very starved on time. So the developers don't have time to implement the features, especially because we're mostly stuck trying to fix issues in Blender. So we don't have that much time to do features. And when we do, it's usually something that we talked about a long time ago. So it's still like in the backlog. So I think the easiest way to get a feature request in is to get someone that's interested in implementing it, getting a proposal. Here's the code, and it works, and then you can try to get it into Blender. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think the core developers right now will have time to implement new features in quite some while.
Yeah, there are a few. There are actually quite some features that get added, and they're maybe low-hanging fruit, so they are easier. Some of them, like one of the most, if you sort by rating, and you're gonna get the drag and drop of the modifiers node. I think that's
Yep.
I think this I didn't
this
vote.
Has been around since forever. Yeah, 2016.
Yes, and it's everybody wants this feature, but it's not easy. Like you whenever you see something like this, that it has been a question for so long, you can imagine the developers at home like trying, testing it if it works or not, and then they spent hours and then it didn't happen. And of course, they're not gonna say, "Hey, I tried and it didn't work." They're not gonna say that. They probably worked on it, but it's just, yeah, it's just a fail, because then you look at the code and it's so all over the place that, yeah. So I think the feature requests are taken seriously. There is there are just so many things. People are asking for USD, for UDIMs, and the developer of UDIM already worked on it for a long time, but there is this last 10% that is always the part that takes the longest.
Yes.
Or for example, if you like, I don't know, something for Eevee, for example. Before there was no Eevee, and there was maybe the idea was for cycles or for Blender internal. There are things that line up with the development goals, but they have to wait.
Yeah, or for example, now there was a lot of people requesting a repotology tool.
Yeah,
so I implemented or made sure that product flow could work with Blender, but then we discovered that it didn't work that well. So now, of course, I have to spend time to try to fix that, and that means I'm locked up with that area with a lot of other things I have to do also. And that's the case with a lot of other developers too. So it's like, okay, if we just take one feature, then they might be stuck with it for a very long time.
Michael asks, "Hi Pablo, I have a question about curves. Are there any plans to make curve drawing act a bit more like vector drawing programs such as Inkscape or Illustrator, where you click to create a corner and drag to create a smooth Bezier point? Right click to end." I think that's a tool. There are no plans that I know, but this could be implemented as a new tool for mesh editing. So the same way you have tools here, when you have a curve, we could have specific tools for this kind of creating the curves. Like this one. Did you know you can actually draw curves?
What?
Like, no, because the drawing of curves in 2.7, this existed, but it was very tricky to get it. It was like an option somewhere. And now it's a tool.
Now it's exposed.
It's a tool, so you can actually write in
what
in curves.
Is that one also? Maybe
this one?
Yeah.
This one is for extruding.
You click the plus and okay, yeah, I see.
And then there is changing the thickness, so you can.
Yeah, but you can't see it now because you don't have any geometry on the.
I don't have any geometry. Okay, next question. We're almost approaching the time, so I'm gonna do 5 more questions.
Yay!
Are the developers planning to make an advanced mapping node much like the one found in Ugly Shader? We need a mapping node that supports triplanar mapping and rectangular. I don't know Ugly Shader, and we're gonna skip this one because it has a video, but just so we can. This one doesn't count. Let's do 5 more. Because I didn't reply it. But yeah, basically improvements in nodes are gonna come with the Everything Nodes project. So another topic that
this is a texturing node, I think, because they're talking about triplanar.
Okay. Next question. I really like the MantaFlow liquid simulation, but the smoke simulation is not as good. The flow of smoke is so bad. Please show some love to the MantaFlow. There is a person here in Amsterdam in the Blender headquarters working full-time in MantaFlow, with the artists upstairs making tests and people online also contributing feedback. So there will be improvements. Do not worry. There is Cosmos Laundromat 2 happening somewhere the next year
in the cloud.
And it's gonna be using MantaFlow. So yep. So there will be improvements. Don't worry. Next question, number 4. Andy asks, when do you think canvas rotation will land in Blender? Well, sorry to don't hate us, but basically you can already do it. If you set the user preferences in the key map, you need to add a 3D view entry. For example, I think in 3D view global you can add a new one, and it's a add new, and it's called, I think it's called view role, view3d dot view role. So for example, if you set it to let's call it middle click, and let's add a bunch of modifiers. So if I do this view role and set a key, you can basically do this. So you can go
But does that work in the 2D editors? I think they implemented it or are about to implement it in the 2D editors.
In the 2D editor?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. That's pretty nice.
I think that's what he's talking about, but I don't know if it's in yet. But I've seen some developers experimenting with it. So I think if it's not in right now, it should be soon-ish.
Oh, I thought it was a 3D editor. Sorry.
No, 2D.
No, wait, both in the 3D view and in the shortcut. Okay.
Editor.
So in the 3D view editor, it's there. It just doesn't have a shortcut assigned yet. So without breaking the planet, all the key maps, which shortcut do you think the view role should have? Now I did it Ctrl Shift, so basically every keyboard and its mother, but it should be something a bit nicer.
Alt F4.
Alt, yeah. Ctrl Supreme delete. Next question, number 3. Hello, Pablo. Last time I asked if we could show other users about how we could integrate other open source applications into the workflow with Blender, but I think you interpreted it as having subsisted the link between other software. Yes, I remember that. I was referring to something like how in the GIMP homepage they reference other software you can use and without not the GIMP himself. So there should be a mention of Blend.
Yeah, there we have Scribus in Skate.
Oh, there you go. Key component in a key. Ah, yeah, that's nice. They don't have Krita though, and I use both. I use Krita and I think they complement. That's a problem, right? If you mention one, you have to mention everything.
Yeah, because then people will be like, hey, why didn't you mention my program? Oh, they must have a vendetta against me. They hate
And
me.
Blender being a filmmaking animation software, you probably want, like, what would you include? Well, GIMP or Krita, but you can also paint with inside of Blender, or you can also have video editing, but there is like a new video editor open source every week. So there is like, which one do you include? Like KDN Live, PTV, OpenShot, Olive, yes. So there's just so many options. Of course, I try to mention personally all the tools that I use. Everything is open source. Everything we do here, the studio is open source. So the tutorials that you're gonna find, for example, on the cloud, there is a new tutorial, by the way, little plug, is that the Angler Fish workshop.
Right, yeah, the one Andy did.
It's super awesome.
It's very nice, yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna find that, well, some of the texture actually is inside of Blender, so. But there is, every time they use other software, for example, they usually, well, this was everything in Blender. But sometimes Andy shows that he uses Krita as well, especially for painting high-res stuff. But I wanted to show off actually this very nice tutorial that Andy made, and it's available right now on Blender Cloud to all subscribers. And you can also have the blend file, so you can actually play with this monster. Nice. Anyway, it's Eevee, by the way.
Yeah.
Next, small plug, but it pays the bills. It pays for this camera. So next question. I think it's let's do 2 more. Hi Pablo, hope you're doing well. I hope you too. Have a suggestion. 1, the array modifier should have some way to do random rotation or random scale in the array objects. Yes, it should be. It will be pretty nice.
Yes, there actually was a patch for that like 2 years ago, but I think it actually got rejected because the core developers at that time didn't think it fit with the array modifier.
Oh, well, we can try again.
Yeah.
I think maybe the developers at this time should.
Yeah, because I think it should be possible.
It should definitely. Yeah, the array modifier needs.
Because they used it to do brickwork, or so just had one brick and then they randomized stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We should also have like circular array. That will also be pretty awesome. Next question, because right now you have to add an object, offset object and stuff. Next question, when you hit render, Blender overrides the preview render. This is bad. Blender should ask you if you want to override the last render or change the render slot. You can change the render slot manually.
He's mostly
that Blender should do it for you.
Warning, like, oh, you're overwriting this.
Every time you press render F12, it's like no, that's not a good design, I think, because it's stopping you every time you press F12.
Yeah, so I think and
also
remember to change the slot.
I think and the changing of the slot should be something that you can do with the J key, sorry.
Yeah.
That changes to the next available slot, and that way you can flip between them 1, 2, 1, 2. Blender shouldn't do this by default, because every render that you have, it uses memory, right?
Yep,
if you have
exactly.
a render, if you hit render and you have tons of like passes, for example, or if you have view layers, and it can be very heavy. So you don't want to have so many, or Blender to do it manually by itself, because yeah. Anyway, to save memory. Have you seen this news? How well is this new driver helps cycles rendering speed?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
optics.
Yep. This we actually been in touch with them about this. So it's a great PR for Blender, and it's talking about Blender 2.81. So yes, we are aware, and is I think they mentioned the rendering speed improvement that is going to have.
Yeah, I think at least I've seen benchmark numbers before that they posted. I don't know if it's on the page, but it's available somewhere.
I just realized that we're actually answering questions that are just questions. Yeah, so but not the to
the bottom.
We should go to the bottom because this is this is more fair. Okay, let's do 3 more here.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, with the new I don't know if you had to work or do something, but I'm just hanging out here.
Yeah, just go.
All right.
Hello. Okay. Yeah.
With the new version knocking on the door, I'm reiterating my question. Will there be official torrent links? A torrent link? No. No, not torrent link. There is already plenty of ways to download Blender, to get Blender, but then no, not torrent. It's only 100 megs.
Yeah.
Ish. Next question, Constantina. When orbiting the view around a grease pencil object, the stroke looks properly round from most angles, but when the object is viewed from the side, random spikes appear.
Yeah, this is basically a limitation of how they visualize strokes in 3D for grease pencil.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, so I don't know if they could do anything to fix it. I mean, they could try, but then it's an issue that it could be a lot slower drawing in the viewport, and also maybe that it becomes rendering artifacts sometime else. So it's basically if you try to, as he does here, try to view a
stroke from the side, you see the little spike.
Exactly, because then it goes into the screen, and then it's hard to. Yeah.
Interesting. Last question, sir. Hi, Pablo, love your show, and it was awesome to meet you at the conference. Same, likewise. I have a question. When will progressive animation render be available in cycles? I know that Flamenco is possible, but it's an overkill. Actually, Flamenco uses just cycles features. The problem is that they're not exposed anywhere. Progressive animation render, I think you mean, is the fact that we can render just a number of samples and then render like first 10 samples, have that, and then render another 10 samples or 100 or 1,000 samples afterwards, so that way you have a quick preview and you can continue working on it. Flamenco is making use of a feature that Cycle has. Remember that when we make features here at the studio, they're for everybody. So it's actually a change that was done in Cycles to allow sample merging. So you can render different chunks, Cycles render chunks, and that way you can merge in them later. Problem is that there is no UI for it, and it will take UI design to expose
that. Because I think you showed this on a previous Blender.Today when it first arrived. So,
yeah.
Okay, you do this in Python and then you can merge things.
Right. I think we were way past 10 minutes past. Sorry for keeping you around for so long. I think we're good to call it a day. So thanks everybody for staying until the end. Sorry for the sound issues. It's like we're amateur. We've done this for so long.
I think we need to maybe just take some time to figure this out once and for all.
No, it was gonna mess up again, because then like we had internet issues, and then I went home and did it from home, and then some things changed. The camera changed it. Such is life. All right. Don't forget to like the video. Yes, thank you, Unleash.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, yeah, or just liking, that's enough. And subscribing. You've seen the Blender Guru reach 1 million.
They did.
Yeah. So congrats, Blender Guru. We are approaching 500,000, but we don't make tutorials, so that's actually a good good metric.
Report the news.
Just report the news. The Blender conference. The open movies were added here, so that's part of the people. Imagine people subscribing because they see Bebop Bunny, and then They get an idiot every week
Exactly.
talking about.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, who is this? I didn't subscribe for this. I want llamas.
Unsubscribe.
Yes. So it's tricky, but maybe we can reach 500,000 before the end of the year. No,
maybe,
we have okay, let's do this, guys. I think we need like 30,000. I don't know how we're gonna make it. Anyway, thank you for staying until the end of the show. Thank you for not running away, answering all the questions. It's some of the questions are really hard for me to answer. So thank you for dropping by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to be on here and also answer questions that maybe you don't have an easy time to answer either. But I mean, yeah.
I just lie.
Yeah. It will be in the next version.
Just no, I don't. I just try to do my best.
Yes.
As much as I can. I have this thing here the whole time. So there you go. All right, time to relax and warn you about the sound
warning.
Sound warning. What's your headphones? What's your everything? Call your
lock up ears.
Lock your children. Lock your what was it? Lock your wife.
Yes.
Wives. That's mean. Sorry. Anyway, let's do this again next week, right? Let's do it on the 25th of November again next week. Same place, same time. After that week, I'm actually not gonna be around. So let's make it. I'm taking no. I'm taking holidays. I'm going escaping this winter, this European winter. I'm going to the summer in Argentina. So I will not be around. The internet's not gonna be any good there.
That's below the equator, so yeah.
Way below. It's next to the penguins. Yeah. So next week is gonna be the good one with the Blender 2.81 release. With the who knows? Any like for next week? Any exciting thing that you know is gonna show up?
Not really, because I don't want to say like, oh, this will be in next week, and then it's not. So
okay, so not okay. Let's not promise.
Yeah, I can at least say that. Just to preface this, we're hoping to get MantaFlow into 82 and also LA NPR, but it's not certain that we will get those two features. Yeah. But hopefully, fingers crossed, they will be in.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. I will see you again next week. Sound warning in 5-4. Actually, it shouldn't be too loud because I actually muted it. The volume. So 5-4, 3-2. What's the new splash screen next week? Bam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, tune in next week for the splash screen of 2.82 and the new one for Master. Okay. Ciao.